to Imagine That, the podcast where we explore the magic behind the magic of your favorite theme parks. Join us as we pull back the curtain on the creative process, storytelling, and design principles that make Disney parks and beyond so immersive. Whether you're a lifelong fan, a curious creative, or just love spotting the details most people miss, you're in the right place. So get ready to tap into your imagination as we take a deeper dive into the lands, attractions, and stories that bring the parks to life. Let's imagine that together. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Imagine That. I'm your host, Amanda, and today we're having a blue sky session about how Disney can create a Halloween haunt or Halloween overlays more than what they currently have. So, we will be brainstorming ideas for mazes, scare zones, ride overlays, and everything in between. So, before we get started, we got to thank our sponsors, Sunken City Design, Getaway Today, and Where in the Park. Big shout out to our lamplighters, our Patreons who are keeping that conversation going over on our Discord, which, if you have not yet joined our Discord, you totally should because all of us are in there. It's totally free, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, so come hang out with us. The links are in the show notes below, so be sure to check that out. Before we dive into our topic, let's first say hi to the rest of the crew. We actually have the whole Where in the Park team today. Woo woo!
What?
We have Kevin.
Hello, everyone.
And for the first time on Imagine That, we have Kim. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi.
Glad to
So this is going to be a super fun episode. So cannot wait to get started. Kevin, kick us off. Why does having a Halloween haunt at Disney make sense right now?
It's one of those things where for years it hasn't made sense. Let's be honest about that. For most of Disney's history, they've been kind of the family-friendly company, and they still are, don't get me wrong. But I feel like in recent years, they've kind of been tiptoeing their way toward more adult content, especially if you look over at Disney Plus, where they have rated R movies on Disney Plus. I remember when that first came out back in 2019, people were like, they will never ever put an R-rated movie on Disney Plus. That's just not what Disney does. That's not who they are. But ever since 2022, they've had Deadpool and Logan and more mature audience TV shows like Daredevil and Punisher from Netflix. They've been willing to step it up for the adult audience. Sure, those are all Marvel, but they're making their way there. Back in the day over in Paris, actually, I think they probably did the first actual haunt at a Disney park. If I think we covered it a little bit over at the Where in the Park podcast. If anyone listens to that one over there, if you don't,
Early plug.
shameless plug. Right, definitely. We covered that I think last week, where it was the Disney Halloween events that happened at Disney parks in Paris over in 2019 to 2012. They had a thing that was called Terrorific Night or Nights. I'm not sure if it's plural or not, but it was kind of a weird event where it wasn't really created by Disney. It was created by Paris because back then Disney didn't actually own Disneyland Paris. They just had it where they were licensing the name from them. They had like partial ownership and not full ownership because they didn't get that until June of 2017. But like I said, like the event stopped in 2012, like that was the final year, right? But looking online, it looks like the events actually sold out every single year. But I think Disney at the time, especially in 2013, they were like, "Hey, we don't want to have our brand associated with a scary event like that," because they went full terror. Like it had like monsters and murder and all the things that you'd expect to see at Universal Studios or Not Scary Farm or all the Halloween haunt events that you're going to find across the country. Uh, but yeah, so for Disney though, like I said, they have that precedent in Paris that were successful at a Disney park, so they know they can make money off of this, which they like doing. And over in Hong Kong, they actually did have very houses or mazes, whatever you want to call them, over there too, for several years, which they've also stopped. So it's kind of a weird like situation that we're in right now where it's like maybe there's people at Disney because I don't know if those were actually put together by Walt Disney Imagineering either. It felt like it was more like the local people at the parks were like, "Hey, what can we do to get more people through gates?" But Disney corporate, like I said, they kind of have not been really pushing toward the more adult audience until very recently. So 2022, in 2019, they actually bought 20th Century Fox. That's when that whole deal went down, where they actually acquired a lot of IP that's more adult and more like horror oriented, right? You have Alien and Predator, you have Planet of the Apes, The Fly, The Omen, you have The Hills Have Eyes, American Horror Story, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's all these things that Disney now owns the right to use. And the fact that they haven't been incorporating it into the theme parks at all, like they've done some movies based off these, they've done some spin-offs, don't get me wrong. It's not like they're ignoring these completely, but I think it might be time for them to consider start adding them, not to the park permanently and not like, a full like, they don't need the Omen land added anywhere. Don't get me wrong. I think that's too much. But I think that having a once a year event like the way that Universal does their the Halloween Horror Nights, I think that would actually episode is kind of our blue sky session on what we will do to be able to bring that into the US parks. Specifically for Amanda and me, we discussed it before the show here, and we think the only place where it really fits in at this point in time would be over at Walt Disney World's Disney's Hollywood Studios park. Right, Amanda?
Yeah. And sorry for the listeners. We did have a little minor glitch there with the audio, so I do apologize for that. It's our Thousand Oaks Wi-Fi. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Um,
Be
yes,
my
but
microphone too.
that's okay. No, I think it's the Wi-Fi. But anyway, so yes. So we were talking about like obviously this is how we do our blue sky sessions whenever we do armchair imagineering is we brainstorm separately and then we come together before we hit record and figure out okay what idea do you have what idea do you have and we'll kind of hash out a game plan from there. And both Kevin and I focused on Disney's Hollywood Studios because there's a lot of land to use. There's a lot of different lands we can already incorporate into making things a little bit more darker and scarier. And it just Disney's Hollywood Studios needs a lot of love. I feel like that's one of the parks that is kind of you know redheaded stepchild kind of a thing, like, you go there, but only for a specific reason, like, you're going there for Galaxy's Edge, you might go there for Toy Story Land, um, but it's not a full day experience as is some of the other parks. So, also too, Disney's Hollywood Studios has, like, Jollywood Nights, they have some other stuff for, other holidays, but not this one, and I think that Halloween would really do well in this park. But that being said, Kim, you have some ideas for how to plus the existing Oogie Boogie Bash over at Disney's California Adventure. So we're going
Yes.
coast to coast.
Yes, we are, because I'm not into the horror or scare stuff, so mine's just gonna be adding a little to the Villain's Grove and some other little experiences that we'll talk about.
I'm excited to hear it because we haven't fully hashed out our ideas. We just gave each other like, I'm going over here, I'm going over there. But we haven't flushed out our ideas. And that is what this blue sky session is all about. So as I'm going to lay down the foundation. We're going to kick off our armchair imagineering segment of the show. It's a blue sky session, which means there are no bad ideas. The only rules that we have is that we're going to create a haunt or attraction overlay or something like that within the boundaries of a Disney park. But we can go backstage. We can use the existing space around the Disney park just to bring our ideas to life. So if we need to go backstage a little bit to create a new haunt or something like that, we can go outside of where current guests are allowed to go. Also, we're using existing IP within the Disney umbrella. So that's exciting. As Kevin mentioned, we have a huge vault to pull from. So we don't have to do other things like some other parks, like, a Universal where they're pulling from other IPs that they might not own, but they're licensing out. Disney has that huge umbrella to use from. So Let's start off with scare zones. And these would be walk-through experiences within existing stretches of land. So think like Main Street USA. You're walking down Main Street USA, and then there's some scare actors in a new themed environment. So, Kevin, you had some ideas for some scare zones at Disney's Hollywood Studios. What were some of those?
Definitely. So, like Amanda said, a scare zone is like an area where you be scared, right? It's pretty simple. For anyone who hasn't been to one of these nighttime events, it probably sounds scarier than it really is. Um, but I was looking at the map for Hollywood Studios, and it's kind of a weird park. For anyone who hasn't been there, or even if you have, it has kind of three out down the middle of the park. If you look where if you're going coming up to like where Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is, and if you turn left, right, you're gonna be able to either continue over where they have I'm trying to think of like exactly
What
where
are you
that takes you.
talking about?
Oh, you okay.
You have
So
ABC commissary or
so I see commissary is that before is like I'm trying to picture like the whole map. So you have a fork in the road, right? So you have ABC commissary that takes you all
right,
the way down to Sci-Fi Diner, Dine In,
right,
Drive In. What's the thing? I used to
driven.
know names of things. My shorthand was just Sci-Fi. Like I would know the full name after I started talking about it. But anyway,
Okay,
so but you also have that Pixar Place walkthrough as well, where they kind of wall it off on both sides. But if you look at the map, they can take those walls down. You could go straight through. It's not difficult to get that to go as well. So you have
okay,
also the walkway that goes in front of where they have like that kind of like Mickey and Minnie short, the
right.
um
So you have like the
Vacation
frozen,
Fun.
yeah, you
Yeah,
have the
so from the
frozen
Frozen
sing
show down to
along
Vacation
thing.
Fun is a
Yes,
walkway, exactly, right? But
right.
also there are ways around that where you don't have to actually go down any of those corridors. You can spend your entire day at Hollywood Studios and never actually walk on any of those paths, which I think is important for a scare zone so that you have an alternate route. Normally, when you go to a theme park and it has a scare zone, you aren't forced to walk through that to be able to get to your other destination on the other side. There's usually an other way around the park that doesn't include walking through that zone, which is why I like those three spots. I also like those three spots because it has where if you hear screams coming, you don't know which of those lanes it's coming from. So it'll make it a little more creepy as you like have the whole park kind of taken over in those spots.
Yeah,
So
that's a
I
good
wrote down.
point.
Oh, thank you. The notes I wrote down for this. So I don't have a big thing for the Frozen to Vacation Fun Zone, but I wanted to have it themed to the Predator franchise. Specifically, like skipping ahead because I also have an idea for a haunted house slash maze over in that same area that is kind of not the same franchise, but it's like a sister franchise to it. So we'll cover that in the future. Just keep that in your head. For the ABC commissary to sci-fi, I want for that to be themed off of the TV show The X-Files. So I think that would be a lot of fun. I know like it's been a while since it's been around, but I think it does still have a following. And it can also kind of warrant its own reboot or to bring back the franchise. And that whole area is so dark most of the time that I don't think it would take a lot to turn that into a scary area if you just throw in some of their aliens and monsters from the TV show. Would make it a lot of fun. You can even turn the meet and greet over there with Mickey into a meet and greet with Scully and Mulder from the TV show. So it could be fine. I can see them as face characters, be a lot of fun to interact with, really be in character about like, did you see anything out there? You know, which obviously they would have because it's themed that way. But then the last one out here is the big one on my like I spent a lot of time trying to figure out if this was even possible. But the Pixar Place little walkway that's open sometimes for like photo ops, I would turn that into a Marvel Zombies scare zone. Now, hear me out. I know there are rules about Walt Disney World and Marvel because of the Universal contract with Marvel. If you don't know about it, you can look it up. It's a mess, right? But, I was trying to figure out which characters they do have access to, because obviously you have the Cosmic Rewind, ride over at Epcot. So you have Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a Marvel property, added to Disney Park because those characters were not part of that contract, because they weren't part of, the big, you have X-Men, Avengers, Spider-Man, and, Fantastic Four. So those 4 families of Marvel characters that you cannot touch. That's kind of the rule on what that contract said, right? and obviously Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't part of that. But also, I asked Chat GPT just to like see like what they thought on this because I was kind of doing the math on it too based off some articles I found, and I can kind of confirm these ones. So would have access to Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Mephisto, Werewolf by Night, Shang-Chi, Daredevil, Moon Knight, The Punisher, Agatha Harkness, the Dora Milaje, Miss Marvel, Luke Cage, and the entire cast of the Eternals. So I mean, just that alone, you'd have plenty of people to like zombie out, and it would feel like you were in a zombie Marvel area. Um, there's also some other characters that are kind of like on the cusp, like America Chavez and Echo and Riri Williams, where they were all created after the contract. So we're pretty sure that even though they're kind of tied to the Avengers, that they would still be allowed at the Disney parks. But that's for Disney lawyers to figure out. Jessica Jones is also allowed. The big ones are Thanos, Black Panther, Ant-Man the Wasp, Namor, and Scarlet Witch are all possibilities to have in there. If you can throw Scarlet Witch in, I think where you have an actual full themed area. So I
Well,
think that
this
would be
Would
is
a lot
blue
of
you
fun.
sky, so why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would you
right.
be able to have
Get,
Namor? Because they have Namor over at Islands of Adventure.
I was reading like the rules on it are kind of weird, where it has to be tied to an attraction, not just painted on a wall.
Okay.
So that's the reason why all the Spider-Man characters are out. They have a Spider-Man ride. They have Fantastic Four, like the restaurant, which counts as an attraction apparently. Even Kingpin, even though like he's not in the Spider-Man ride, he has his own arcade, so he is out as well.
Mm.
Obviously, you have the Incredible Hulk roller coaster, so he's out. It's kind of a weird like where the lines get drawn. And it's a little muddy too, which is why I said it's possible that they can do it, but not guaranteed for Namor where he's not that tied down to any of those big four franchises because he did exist before them, I believe, is what they say. So I don't know. I think he started in Fantastic Four, but again, I don't know. Like he's existed outside of it, so it's a legal gray area. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't talk to lawyers on this. It's just mostly ChatGPT and a few websites that seem to narrow these down as the big characters. So I think if you can throw those into a little scare zone over there, I'd be all for that.
Wow. Well, that all sounds awesome, especially the X-Files one. I think that there is an untapped market going on there because that's going to bring back the nostalgia for those who followed the show, and to revive it because there's generations of people who have no idea who the X-Files are. Like, so that's going to bring back the series, and then like you said, it could have a spin-off, new cast of characters, the whole thing if they decided to go down that route. So I think that would be uh a great way to open that Pandora's box and see if there's something there for them to explore. So yeah, and that's awesome with
So
the different pathways there. When you had said scare zones, I was like, where would you put a scare zone? And I hadn't thought of that fork in the road there.
yeah.
So
So I
great.
was thinking Sunset Boulevard would be fun, but you would be kind of closing off that whole section of the park if you try to put one down that way, because there isn't really an alternate route right now. So maybe in the future, if
Well,
they ever open up where the animation building connects to Rock and Roller Coaster, but
yeah. Well, in thinking of how other theme parks do their haunts, there is no walk around. You
like
have
which?
to walk. Well, like at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights, you go down right at the beginning, you have the chainsaw clowns. You
Yeah,
go down.
that is a scare zone. True, but you can go
It
through the
is.
shops for that, right? Like, you don't have to like,
Okay.
they aren't walking in front of you, like, before you have that alternate route, but also, like, it's not like they have, like, the whole built up stuff around there either, like, you don't have like, you have once you get to the split, right, where you have where that little Nintendo eatery is, that's where they actually have, like, the big tower with the flames and stuff, and it actually has, like, big monsters and things kind of built up around it, right? But you can veer left and completely bypass that. You don't have to go through that scare zone. Then they also have the witch
Right.
area that you can completely bypass as well if you just go straight past Mel's and hook a right. Like it doesn't continue to that walkway there.
I guess if you're counting the shops as a safe zone, then
And the
maybe.
even that one scare zone, like in quotes of the scary clowns, like I feel like that scare zone didn't really open up until kind of later in the day. It wasn't there from like maybe it was. I mean, we didn't get there right at rope drop, but like it felt like it wasn't like a fully developed scare zone. It felt like they just had some monsters there occasionally, but it wasn't the same as the lighting was changed and the sound effects were like different, like they do with the other scare zones.
Well, if you think about Universal Florida, where they do have the lighting and that's their opening act, where those monsters are right there, and there is no
Universal
shop to
Florida
walk
again.
through.
You can turn right and go straight to where like the Ciro's connects over to Hollywood Boulevard.
True. But then you're right there in the middle of that scare zone right there
You can
with
go
no
right
other.
behind the other building there. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's ways around it, like, even
Yeah.
with that walkway, like, it's not the same again, the entry zone there isn't a full scare zone, it's just kind of a archway with some characters, it doesn't have the full, like, build up around you, like, when you get over to the, New York Street, where it's, like, full themed environment, again, lighting,
Right.
characters, set design, and the Hollywood Boulevard, they have the same thing of scare actors and set design, right? But you can get around those by going straight down the middle and turning right by over where, like, Transformers is, and not go through either the fully developed scare zones. They have kind of scare areas, I guess, with some scare actors, but I don't think it's a fully developed scare zone. So it's kind of a weird, like I mean, they might market it as it just to be able to put it on a map and, like, box say we have more, but I think the operations department is like, "No, we're not gonna have that as something that you actually have to walk through to be able to get to the next part of the park."
I see what you're saying. I didn't put it together that you consider going around shops and stuff like like even though they have the build outs to create that themed environment, you can still walk behind them. Like
Yeah,
down
you go to the
Hollywood
other
Boulevard
sides.
at Universal Florida, you can go down the actual sidewalk and that would be considered a safe space. So, I see what you're saying. All
So, I mean,
right. Well,
technically, I guess Sunset Boulevard does have some shops there. So there might be some areas that you could create a separate walkway around, like a limited area of it, but it does have those gaps. So, yeah.
gotcha. Well, if you want to travel to any of these places that we were just talking about, then you need to call our friends over at Getaway Today and they will help you plan your entire trip. And so let's take a moment and hear from them.
It's been a great show so far, but who's ready for an ad break? Did you know that the best way to keep our shows going is by supporting our sponsors? So, let's get to know more about the travel experts at Getaway Today. They've been helping to make vacation dreams come true since 1990. And whether you want to visit the happiest place on earth or to travel to Orlando for a most epic adventure, they are there to help. Are you trying to find out which hotel is your best option or which theme park tickets will work best for your visit? Are you concerned that you might need a last minute change? No worries. Their travel experts will help you out. Looking to book a cruise but don't know where to start? Hey, they can help with that too. They will find the perfect cruise for your vacation, whether it's your first time or you're a well seasoned cruiser. When you book your cruise with one of the Getaway Today experts, you will have a dedicated agent to help you every step of the way. They take care of the details so you can have the most fun. Getaway Today offers peace of mind travel, allowing you to cancel or make changes up to 72 hours before your trip. You will always have the most up-to-date vacation information, both pre-arrival and upon welcome. Getaway Today guarantees the best prices, with no hidden fees, and every time you book through Getaway Today, they will donate a portion back to a charitable organization in your area. And so far, over $4.5 million have been donated. So go ahead and dial 1-855-GETAWAY, that's 1-855-438-2929, and be sure to tell them that Walt's Apartment sent you. Or just click the link in our show notes for more information and the best deals to start your Disney, Universal Studios, or cruise vacation planning. What I'm trying to say is, if you like to travel, check out Getaway Today. Alright, so now it's time to get back to enjoying that view from Walt's apartment. Let's get back to the show.
Welcome back. Yes, be sure to call our friends at Getaway Today and we'll see you at the parks because we're always there and you should be too. All right.
Definitely.
So, continuing on with our conversation, let's dive into some attraction overlays. And first up, let's go over to Disney's California Adventure and what's happening over at Villains Grove.
Okay. So I love Villains Grove. And that's the one thing if I was going to go to Oogie Boogie again, it would be definitely to go to see that. That was one of the highlights. They basically take the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail forest and they kind of revamp it to where it's got some fog and some mystical lighting and sound effects. And it's really, really cool. And you just feel like you're walking into this amazing haunted in a way grove. But I would start it off at the very end of Soaring, right by where the plane is, so that that whole Grizzly Peak area is converted. So you'd have fog starting from there because otherwise you just have the switchback mostly and there's nothing else changed really. I would take Maleficent and I would put her kind of in between where the DFC and the Big Bear is for the River Rapids.
DVC.
I'd huh?
The DVC.
Yeah,
DVC.
DFC something else.
Yeah, sorry. It's on my
It's
brain.
the Disney fan
Um,
club for anyone listening.
right? Hey. So I would put her kind of there, but like the backdrop would be the rapids and definitely have some lighting there that would be like kind of eerie, the purples and the blues and all of that. Um, and have that as her backdrop. And then either if you I don't know how you could do it, but blue sky, have the dragon kind of emerge up from the water area. And so it's kind of like behind her because we don't have a Murphy anymore, but kind of just have her come up that way. Or I would have it where we'd have some sort of draping over the big bear and put a projection there to where
Yeah.
it would look like the dragon's coming from there. Um, because otherwise she's just kind of in the back area. You could by the waterfall, so you don't really see her unless you go back there. So I kind of think she needs to be a little more out front. Um, and then you could wind your way into the creek area. And that one has a lot of projections and sounds and things like that, but there's no characters in there. And I don't know why. So that's my thing was I would have where the roses are turning red or being painted red, have the Queen of Hearts at the end so that you kind of have to walk past her. And so when you hear her, when you're talking about painting the roses red, you can then get to see her. I think you should have Scar, an animatronic Scar, kind of either on the bridge or on the rocks overlooking when they're playing, the Be Prepared area and maybe the hyenas. I think that would be really cool. And then one character that's not there's some sorcery in there, but he's not there would be Dr. Facilier. And I would put him like on the stage area that they have there. And he could be doing his spells, some card tricks, things like that. I think would be really cool. So he could have an audience kind of there for a little while. And then the Wicked Queen, because there's lightning in the forest. So I think she needs to be kind of near the end because that's where that takes place. So having all of those characters in there because they're kind of spread out throughout the Oogie Boogie Bash, but there's just pretty much like a stage for them where this would be really immersive as people were walking around. So you
I
guys have been through it.
love
So what do you think?
Yeah, I love that idea so much. I do love Villains Grove, but this would really plus it in so many ways because it right now it is just the lighting, the music, the fog effects, and some sounds, some eerie sounds, where your imagination does most of the heavy lifting. I feel. But having those characters, whether they're animatronics or live action, is pretty cool. When you're talking about Maleficent, over at the Grizzly Peak area, I was thinking that landscape right in front of the walkway can change to that vine, the spiky thorns kind of a look to really set that tone. And then there's a cutout where normally people will stand to, get that splash effect. As the drop, like that's where the dragon could be. That is kind of
Mm.
looming over everything. And I think you could probably do some projections on Grizzly Peak already if you could even see it with the how the trees are
Stuff.
overgrown right now. But
Yeah.
yeah, with the lighting, it's kind of already one shade. So it might lend itself well to having a projection map happening on there already. But I love making that area more immersive, um, and really setting the tone for what you're going to experience in Villains Grove, um, without having to be in Villains Grove yet. You can still have that
Right.
experience with her.
I did have a
Lots of
question.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Is Grizzly River Run actually operating during Oogie Boogie Bash or no?
I don't
Do you guys remember?
I
so. I don't think so.
don't recall,
Okay.
but in my dream, it would not.
Yeah.
Okay. It would not. Okay.
Yes.
So I wasn't sure if we would do like a full like over theme of like overlay of that whole attraction or just throw her in at the very end there. But it could be like a whole like spooky character kind of like ride as well.
Yeah.
I
Just to
wanna say
plus
the
that
ride
idea.
itself is closed, but the water's still going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So it still has where it
Yeah.
feels like it's alive even though it's not
right.
happening. Because you don't
Right.
want to get soaked
Right.
at night, especially if you're wearing a costume. I get it. It
Exactly,
makes sense.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Yeah, I do
Then
agree
I had
though. The Villains Grove though was amazing, except for I remember when we got out of it, I was like, it feels like we just got here during like a shift change, and there should have been characters here, but we walked through while they weren't here. But even though like they're never there for some reason, like I said, I don't know exactly the reason. I don't know if there are actual logistics for it, or if I don't know, they're afraid it's going to scare children. But again, we're here to scare the kids, so let's do it.
Well, I think
Yeah,
too,
I
we
have a
we
cou
don't have we don't have a whole lot of representation for some of these characters already. Like, when's the last time you saw Scar, right? Or the hyenas, even just in projection mode, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I was like, because they allude to those characters already in the setup of the Grove. So having them there makes sense instead of just having, a platform for them to stand on. Like Dr. Facilier's out in front of World of Color
yeah,
Yeah,
occasionally.
that's weird.
it is very
So
I
it's
strange.
mean, I
like
guess it's
you're already
fine.
kind of
There's nothing weird
referencing
about it,
him
but
in there. Yeah, that he
yeah.
could totally have some area in there. Um, then I had a couple other little things, little tweaks. I have that this is not in Villains Grove though. This would be adding Hades' realm into the sorcerer's workshop because you
Yes.
have to
Okay.
go down and you could
Yeah.
totally make that in there and put Pain and Panic in there as well. It would be really cool to be down there and he can be on his throne and he could just be his typical self. And I think that would be really cool to do that. Um, Little Mermaid, I meant to do this earlier, is having Ursula kind of when you come out of that Villains Grove area and you're coming around that corner where you're going to go to the Ariel's, what is it, undersea adventure,
Yeah, sounds right.
basically having the you going into this underwater realm where Ursula would be. And so you'd have to, have some projections, kind of like if you're going underwater, and then having like a maze of some sort as you're winding your way through all of her little creatures. And then you could have kind of where you could see her at the end of that as you near the Paradise Pier
So I think what you're saying is
or
it'll be
Paradise. It's
Ursula's
Paradise
like
Park.
yeah, it'll be Ursula's undersea scare venture or something. So we're saying here.
There you go. We could scare
All
you.
right, perfect. All right, but you're retheming the aerial ride to an Ursula themed ride. I think that's what I'm getting from
Yeah,
this.
pretty much on your way to it. Yeah, for sure.
So it's not
And
actually
then
on the
the
ride,
la
but it's like as you're walking by
it's
the
in the
restrooms.
walkway, yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay,
Yes. So that whole
got it.
area could be turned into an underwater themed
Got it.
villain lair.
So it's like a scare zone
Um,
essentially.
Yeah.
yeah, with Ursula.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I have a show, and this I think would be awesome. The Hyperion Theater does just sit there. And I think if you had a villain show, because they have the parade and all that, but I think if you had just kind of like how it is for some of the World of Color has some villain projections and Phantasmic has some villains projections, have a show but with the characters, the actors actually there. And then I don't know what kind of show, but then it's like a precursor to the villain's land that's being built at Magic Kingdom. And then they can kind of like show this is where they're going to be. So that was my little blue sky. Not so scary.
All right, so you're thinking more fun than scary for that show.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Highlighting the
And no, Amanda and
villains.
I, we did the new villain show over at Disney's Hollywood Studios, where it's kind of a presentation with some live actors dressed as the characters, and it has some music involved, and it's a little silly. It's definitely geared more toward the kids than the adults for that show. I don't know if you'd want to recreate that show exactly the way it is, but just something
No,
kind of
I
in
want
that
it to be
vein
a
as far
little,
as
yeah. I want it a little scary. I want
yeah.
it to highlight maybe some of the not so known villains,
All
and
right.
then so that they're kind of all going to be taking, maybe it's their plot as they're planning to take over this villain's land that's being built, something like that.
It's mostly like
Set up a
that
mess.
yodeling guy from Home on the Range.
Terrifying.
He's so not known. Yeah. What's his name? Nobody cares. Yeah.
Wow.
What happened?
Wow. Well, I love any use of the Hyperion Theater, so I am all for that. And
Yeah.
then to have that original storytelling of how villains land at the Magic Kingdom is coming to be, and have that tie in, get us excited for Villains Land. I think that is really really cool. So, yeah, I'm all for that. So let's do it. Let's make it happen. Disney, we know you're listening.
I have a ride overlay idea that works both coasts. If you want me to just
Okay,
jump straight to that.
let's
So
go.
for Toy Story Mania or Toy Story Midway Mania, depending on your coast, I think it can have a Halloween edition. I don't see why not. Obviously, they just threw in some 70th anniversary stuff recently at Disneyland, so they can do it pretty easily. But I would say completely redo the games to have them based off of still Toy Story. So like some things I just jotted down quickly would be like a game based off of Sid's bedroom somehow. Or Al's Toy Barn has like, like a scene with like the buzzes going crazy or something. But from there, I think it gets real, right? You got Sunnyside, where you have Gabby Gabby and the Bensons and that demonic money monkey with the symbols. Like if you had that show
Terrifying.
up in attraction, I don't know what game you'd be playing against them, but I think that could be a
Doesn't
lot of
matter.
fun. And then obviously that finale there is going down that long corridor that they have right now. We're just shooting at targets and stuff. If we could turn that into that trash compactor finale from Toy Story 3, oh man, I would be all for that. It's like going through there, and yeah, it'd be terrifying but fun. So
Yeah.
again, I don't know what the games would be exactly, but as far as like the pitch of someone could come up with something with these, like as the groundwork, let's do it. And again, that would work on both coasts. I was thinking about it for Hollywood Studios because, like I said before, we're kind of focused on that as being a good spot for an actual Halloween haunt kind of thing. But yeah, it would definitely work.
That totally works. Yeah. Like I said before we started recording, anytime you got Gabby Gabby and the Bensons, terrifying. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's a
throw them
recipe
in
for
there.
nightmares.
Make it happen. Do we have any other attraction overlays or anything before we go into some hots?
I do have some other ideas for Hollywood Studios. Like I said, for the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, I was watching a video based off what they did in Paris back when they had that event for a few years, and they had scare actors throughout the line for that entire ride. But the ride itself was unchanged. But again, they didn't have that forward section like they have in Florida, where you can actually have more scare actors there as well as you get into like the Twilight Zone going through the doorway. You can have that be more scary because it's already kind of creepy. Don't get me wrong, but throwing some characters in there straight from the actual TV show. I don't know how the licensing will work with CBS on all of that, but I'd be all for that. The other idea I had was for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway to turn it into kind of a Halloween fright version. I didn't come up with any good ideas on top of like, it just becoming them having it during Halloween time. The only thing I had like written down is like one scene idea just to like get the ball rolling here. Like that scene where they go off the waterfall. You can instead have it where they go off a cliff and then end up like in a grave and they turn around, they're in a cemetery. Or it could be it starts out in a cemetery, they go down into a grave, they turn around, now they're in the underworld, like from Hercules. Like again, it's already part of the same universe. It is possible. Where they go from there, obviously, it ends up with a happy ending because just like the ride does, I'm still not saying it just becomes evil or anything, but I think that'd be a cute little like they could do it pretty easily with what they have right now. So yeah, just ideas.
Man,
Huh.
go down a cliff and you're in a cemetery.
That kind of
But
I mean,
sounds like
it's
somebody I know would come up with something like
right.
that.
Channeling my inner Lou.
Lou.
Yeah,
yeah, you're
yeah.
talking about Louis Medina from Sunken City Design, who actually designed this sweatshirt right here. Which, if you're not watching
Whoa.
us over on YouTube land, you totally should, because we're all here, we're hanging out, so you can see us and check out this amazing sweatshirt from Sunken City Design of Sleepless Night, Moon Knight himself. So, yes, actually, Louis Medina will be with us. We're in the park over at MouseCon in Concord on November 2nd. And the entire the entire Walt's apartment
It's true
crew
too.
yeah, the Wear Park team will be there too. But Walt's Apartment Productions will be there as well. So you got the whole crew. Come hang out with us. It is up in Concord in the Bay Area. So be sure to check out all of our social channels, and we'll have links to everything right there. So check out Sunken City Design. You can check out We're in the Park. You can check out Walt's Apartment Productions, which you already should be following all of us. And we've been talking about MouseCon for a long time now. So we also just did the live show the other day, where we were talking with Steve from MouseCon all about MouseCon. And yeah, so if you haven't checked out that live show, go back and check it out. So hope to
What's
see
that
you
event
there
called again?
on the second. Well, this is MouseCon. It's
Okay.
mouse dash con,
Okay.
and yeah, it's a lot of fun. And
It's in
we're there every
Concord.
year. It sure is.
All right.
November
That's in
2nd.
California.
It is. Yes,
Perfect.
that's
All
true.
right.
Yes.
California. All right. All right. So, any other ride overlays or anything like that?
I think that's all I have for ride overlays. I mean, I had some ideas for like Star Wars where you can make things a little bit like go into like darker areas, especially on the Millennium Falcon over there. But
Right.
yeah, other than that, like I didn't really come up with any great ideas. I don't think you'd want to redo Star Tours completely, but it is possible. I don't know.
Sure.
Just little
Hmm.
ideas here and there.
All right.
I don't think they have Halloween
Well,
over there, but I think they could do scary.
of course they can. All right. So, I had an idea. Well, actually, like Kevin and I both had this idea because it just writes itself. When you are in Toy Story Land, where are you? You're in Andy's backyard, right? You're like the size of an ant because Buzz and Woody, they're all life size. Like you're
You're the
like
size of a toy.
microscopic. Yes, but Buzz and Woody are ginormous compared to you,
That's true.
right? So you're
They're
smaller than
superstars. Sure.
exactly.
You're a small
So
toy.
you are a child's plaything.
Yeah,
And
but smaller than Buzz.
so but who lives next door to Andy?
Oh, Sid.
Sid. Sid lives next door. So this area, this haunt, this maze would take you backstage because you're literally going next door from Andy's backyard to Sid's backyard. And so you're gonna have Sid, you're not gonna see him, but you'll just hear this booming Sid voice because he's ginormous, right? Um, just in the background, he is playing Operation, quote unquote, with his toys, like he does, mixing and matching some parts. And his dog, Scud, has sniffed you out. And so now he's on to you that you were in his backyard. And he's like, "What? New toy? Yeah." And so now he's after you, right? And so you keep going through this maze, and now you're in his room. So we've gone from the backyard to his room, and that's when all the classics come out, right? So you have Ducky, you have Spider Baby, you have Legs, you have Hand in the Box. You have all of these characters who they come after you from room to room because they're like, "Hey, you're new, which means he's not attacking us. So this is great news." And so they want you to stay. And so you're trying to escape this bedroom and clash of characters. So they actually have these characters in Hong Kong. And so I'm
They
going to
had them.
share. Yeah. Well, this was like as of last year. I don't know if they have them this year.
Yeah, I don't know if they do.
But I mean,
Oh,
you have
beautiful.
Spider Baby
That's
here
awesome.
with Halloween, and he's larger than life. So there was another one that I found where there was the lady that was standing to the right, and or I guess like Spider Baby's left, and she only goes up like halfway to the leg. It's massive.
Wow.
And then you have Legs, right, with the building blocks, and so you can have all of these characters coming at you in this maze that are larger than life because you were a small toy in this case, and they are all coming after you. So I think that would be super fun. And yeah, so that's my idea for a Toy Story Sid's room haunt.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna talk about back in
That's
Hong
awesome.
Kong in 2016 or 2017, they had a Maze of Madness, the Nightmare Experiment, where they actually had a Toy Story section with those as scare actors.
See what I'm
So
saying?
it has been done. It can be done. I want to go through it here in the U.S. So
Let's
because I can't
go.
hop into a time machine to go back to Hong Kong during those years to experience it. So yeah,
Yeah. It
I'm all
needs
They
to
for it.
do need to
happen.
have the actor that or the well, he was the actor that played Sid at the Oogie Boogie Bash a few years ago because he
It was great.
was
Right.
I know that we're supposed to be small, but put him on a big put him on stilts. I don't care. He
Have them as a
was
big
awesome
projection or
and
something.
it just
Yeah.
Right.
would be great. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
It would just
thinking
be
to have a
great.
Sid character out front of the house as well. Like thinking maybe like you became smaller as you went through the door, but I do like the idea of you just being small the whole time. Another cool idea I
Yeah.
thought would be fun is like every 10, 15 minutes, like a single firework would go off and Sid would just like laugh maniacally. I think that'd be
That's what he
fantastic.
does.
Yeah.
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 Uh,
That'd be great.
also, I got, when I was looking at the names of these characters, you kept saying Spider Baby. I heard
Yeah.
that that character's name is Babyface, so I don't really know which
It's
one's correct. I don't think it's
yeah, I
officially
saw
canon
both.
anywhere. So,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah.
it's both. Yeah.
But if I got Roller
So,
Bob chasing me or Pterodactyl Janie, I would just be all for it. So, yeah,
yeah, bring them all back,
yeah,
you know.
it'd be fantastic.
And then you have like the dog, which you could have a
Oh
animatronic
yeah, a huge
Scud,
scud,
like
like could be a puppet and everything. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You just have like the face because it's just massive.
yeah.
Um, but anyway, so that's what's happening over there. And then I also had an Ursula themed haunt. So this one would be near the Little Mermaid show that they have at Hollywood Studios. So you know where in the movie she has her lair, and then when Ariel signs the contract, you see all of those like shrinking worms everywhere,
Yeah, the
and they have
people,
like the really sad eyes. Yeah, those are
the
people,
mer
right?
people. Yeah,
Yeah, but we don't know anything about them. So my thought is this haunt would be you go into this lair, like Ursula lures you in, and she performs this spell to return these worms to their horrified state. And so you see, like, you're like, oh, do you feel bad for these people? Like, look at them. And so she turns them back into what they would be. So you have like skeletal remains, you have like zombified creatures and everything to show like I'm doing these guys a favor by keeping them alive as worms. So she thinks she's doing the right thing.
Wow.
but they're actually like really creepy, gory looking sea people, or like a
I
drowned
mean, I
sea
haven't.
captain that she like makes a
Okay.
deal with him to keep alive. She just
Okay.
doesn't say in what form, and so he's still alive as this creepy worm when he would have drowned.
I was thinking I haven't seen the
So
movie for a while, but like King
interesting.
Triton turns into one of those at the end of the movie for
He
a brief
does.
moment, right? So like
He
he returned back
does.
to like King Triton. He wasn't like zombie King Triton or anything. Some of
But
all
these
the
guys
people, like some of them might turn to just like normal person, like on a bad day, but which is still
but
scary. Don't get me wrong.
but we don't know how long they've been down there, right?
Uh,
So, or what time period they came from. So we're learning more about these characters. Like one could be a sea captain, one could be, it could be just about anything. But you would have the aquatic lighting and the fog effects, and I'm thinking about the one that was over at Knott's Scary Farm, where you had the lasers with the fog, and then the
oh
creatures
yeah,
like
look like water.
walking, yeah, that looked like water, and then they were underneath the fog, like the scare actors were underneath the fog, and then they pop out and like right in front of you and scare you. So you could have things like that. And then something happens, Ursula gets really mad and she tries to bring you down and turn you into this worm or whatever. So she's like after you. So you have like this big
It's
animatronic
pretty extreme.
Ursula creature. I know.
I was trying to figure out like how many jump scares you can get with a Flotsam and Jetsam, but you're
Wow.
like on a different page here, so that's fine.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
Right?
That's what I have with that. But again, like Ursula
Wow.
thinks she is a hero, right? She doesn't see herself as a bad person like she has in the song. Like, I'm doing you a favor. You want your wish granted to
Right.
become human? Sure thing. I just need your voice. You want to survive this drowning? Great. You'll become my slave and you'll be a worm. But you'll be living. So what do you
Yeah,
want?
here, sign here.
Exactly. So all of these people that she's made
Yep.
contracts with that have then failed
Yep.
their obligation, and then they've turned into a worm. Who are those people? So,
Right.
yeah, I think that'd be an interesting story to explore.
Creating a whole new canon.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Well,
then I had. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I have some other ideas too. So I don't know if you want
Yeah.
to go through yours next, or if you want me to take one to go do the next one. Sound good?
I just have like one
Okay.
other like show kind of thing, but yeah, you go, and then I'll
Oh yeah,
I'll
and I have three other house ideas
go
here.
for
So if you
it.
want to just like,
Yeah.
let's just go
Yeah.
through this real fast. So as we all know, they're currently working on Monstropolis as a new land. So I was thinking what kind of Monsters Inc. experience we could have. And over in Hong Kong, back when I said like, that they had like their experience over there with other like scare things. They had an area where you can actually look up videos of like the CDA kind of like lunging at people, which is kind of interesting. People in full costume, like as the CDA. I don't want to go that way though. I was thinking it'd be more fun to have it be more like a scare floor training exercise that you're going through. So you're going from like room to room, and it's different monsters trying to scare you in a different way in each room. So you don't know what's going to happen as you're going through them. Because Amanda and I, we just recently did the Poltergeist house over at Universal Studios in Hollywood, and when you're walking through the bedroom there, it feels like you're walking through a bedroom. So that technology already exists. So if you pair that with some fun monsters coming from the ceiling, you don't know where they're going to appear from, and then you're like to the next room, and then it'll be like a whole corridor of them. Like you'll know you're actually in the Monsters Inc. training facility. I thought it'd be a really fun idea for a scare haunt. You guys on board with this, or
Now
is it
that
too
one I
much?
would do.
Okay, now we're
That one
talking.
I would do.
Now she's on
Because
board.
Speaking her
that's
language.
Monsters Inc. Because that's my movie. So
So it
Oh,
still might
we
make you
finally
cry,
got her
but
on
it'll be a
board.
lot of fun. Yeah, finally I'm speaking her language for the haunt. Um,
right.
on top of that, again, just thinking about the lands that exist in the park, you also have the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and I was thinking having a whole like haunt kind of like based on the world between worlds that appeared in Ahsoka episode 4, Fallen Jedi. I was doing my homework on this. It's also in the animated series for people who are even deeper into this than I am. But like that that section of the show had it where they're in this world between worlds, where it's a dark area where she comes face to face with Anakin Skywalker, and they have a fight, and then he becomes like Darth Vader, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, if my memory's off. Either way, so you can have scenes of like, Anakin coming out of the dark and Darth Vader coming at you. Scary, right? There's also kind of doorways to other worlds there. So you can go anywhere you want in the Star Wars universe because it transcends time and space, right? So you can end up in a Rancor battle from Return of the Jedi with like Jabba the Hutt looking down from above you, and you can have where he gets like where the Rancor is eating a Gamorrean guard. Right there is one of the scenes that you're walking past. Terrifying, amazing, still Star Wars on brand. I'm all for it. Go through another doorway because you get out of there, you're back in the world between worlds. Go through another doorway. All of a sudden, you're over in the Ice Spider Swarm from Mandalorian season 2, episode 4. We all know the episode.
Nope.
One of the best ones.
Terrifying.
You can't fast forward through it now. You are walking through it, and you have ice spiders like not lunging at you, but they're everywhere as you go through that scene. Other scary scene here that I wrote down. Let me see, read them all. Oh, and Ahsoka again. So I figured to kind of bookend it back to Ahsoka. There's this episode 8 of that series, if you watched it on Disney Plus, the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord, where stormtroopers that are killed come back to life. So all of a sudden, you're being attacked by zombie stormtroopers. So I want to walk through that scene, and yeah, so then you end up back in the world between worlds, and then you're outside and back into the park. So I think that'd be a
Uh,
lot of fun.
I'm for that,
That's
except for the
awesome.
spiders.
Yes.
Because,
No,
as you mentioned, I had to fast forward through that.
yeah. Talk about rewritability, because that opens a giant can of worms to have that world between worlds. You can literally go anywhere, like you said. And so
Yeah,
you can mix it up every single year, and you don't know which one you're going to go into next. So
yeah,
I think that is awesome. And you can have all of the different elements that you need in a haunt, with the different smells and the sounds and the, going from a snow scene with the ice spiders to a desert scene to, yeah, all of that. I Why is that not a thing already?
right. It
Let's
makes sense. Like it
It
fits within their
does.
world. They've set the groundwork for this. So yeah. So I was thinking like
Yeah.
that'd be a lot of fun. So I wrote it down.
And and you have Mando, you have Ahsoka already walking around, you have
Yeah.
all of these stormtroopers, so it's not like, wait, why is that here? It
It's
writes
not as
itself.
jarring as it could be. Yeah.
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 Brilliant.
All right. Then the last house I have, like I said, I wanted to put in a predator scare zone. If you guys remember that from a few minutes ago.
I do. Yes.
So imagine you're walking over like past the Frozen show for some reason. You're in a predator area where you have like people with like the full masks, like um once you get past that, you have the entry into the alien themed haunted house. So again, there's a lot of alien predator crossover. I don't plan to have predators in the house. I want to have where you walk through the entryway in there. All of a sudden, you are on the ship from the Nostromo, and it's just like that scene from the Great Movie Ride, right? Where you have Ripley there, and you have the xenomorph, but then it just continues from there, where you have xenomorphs attacking from like the darkness at you. You have actors being taken away by xenomorphs and being eaten as you're going through scenes and stuff like that. But you're getting from one room to the other with like steam fog effects kind of going off, making you feel like you were on the ship. Have the soundtrack playing, the wah, 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 like just I think be able to walk through that. Just even like right now, I'm like maybe the occasional warm drip of water from the ceiling, just like like, is it an alien? Is someone bleeding? What is that? I have to get out of here. I think that'd be a incredible like attraction to go through. And again, Disney does own the Alien franchise now. That's why you're seeing the new shows on Hulu and the new movie that just came out. So yeah, so they own the property, and I would like to see more of it. And I'd like to see it back at Hollywood Studios because, like I said, it has been there before, and I miss it.
And it makes sense, as it is, the movie franchise to be in the movie studio park.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. I thought the same thing with the water effect. You got to have
Oh
like
yeah.
2 drops, just a little drip drip.
Yeah. It's a little bit of the extraterrestrial alien encounter. Inspired there, but I think it would just be really great as you're walking through. Just
Yeah.
feel like you are in that movie. And again, it'd be terrifying. It'd be fun. Why is it not happening yet? Disney,
Why is it not
let's do
happening?
this.
It writes itself. All right. Well, I
Mm.
have two show ideas. Uh,
Mhm.
one, well, it could be a show or it could be a haunt. I think it works as both. Um, I have this either right behind the villain's Unfairly Ever After show or as a revamped Phantasmic. So you have the villains and they're using the magic mirror and they capture Figment from Epcot. And now they're using Figment to do their bidding. And so you're trapped in their demented imagination world. And so that's why I think it works as a haunt because you can go from villain to villain and their twisted imagination. And then, but it can also work as a show where you have like the heroes from those stories teaming up and saving the day. So, like, where you have like Mickey in Phantasmic, you would have kind of a similar arc where you have the villains, heroes like teaming up to fight the villains, you know? So, I don't know. I had like 2 trains of thought where it could work as a show or it could work as a haunt. But something like that where Figment is involved somehow. Um in you go from realm to realm and how one villain would take Figment's and like the imagination and let the imagination go wild.
I mean, the
So,
original name for Phantasmic was Imagination, so you're staying true to the brand there. You're just
yeah,
going the other direction of, hey, what if it's the villain's imagination and you are not having Mickey there to help you?
right.
Well, then put that in the Hyperion Theater because then it's going to tie it all the way back to Magic Kingdom.
Right.
There you go.
There you go. You wrote it. You wrote the show for the Hyperion.
We'll coast to coast this guy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah, the
then
only show idea I had, I'll just throw it in there real fast because it's not a great
okay.
one. But I did when I was going through the properties that Disney now owns because of the Fox acquisition. There's a film that came out that was named Idiocracy, where it was about like what will the future be like based off of like the current way we're going with just idiots kind of like taking over. I was thinking that would make it a lot of fun to have that. I was just not sure if we just put that into like the Beauty and the Beast theater or something small. And I was thinking of the way that Not Scary Farm does Banging, where if you haven't heard of the show, it's just kind of like everything that happened in the past year in pop culture, and either like how dumb it is or like why it just kind of puts it like in a parody and kind of a funny like bent, I guess. So I think if you had that as like the theme of it, you had the idiocracy characters, so you have like a Terry Crews style character up there, talking about like, hey guys, things are getting much better, and then it'll go through like a kind of a year in review kind of show with some silliness and yeah, so just some a little bit of fun, a little bit of violence. I think it'd be a pretty fun Halloween show. So have like a more adult
Well,
themed.
I had the exact same idea, but not with that that franchise, but with Deadpool. Because you do have the pop culture references with Deadpool. You do have the violence with Deadpool and um you know, he doesn't have to be as explicit as he is in the movies. Tone it down just a hair, but still have that fun jab at the pop culture reference. He could do fourth wall breaks. He could do all kinds of stuff like he that is known to do. So, um, I think that would go over very, very well in a similar
Well,
style where you're making fun of pop culture.
and he did do that on an award show
Right.
where he
Exactly.
came out and like stole the stage and was doing all that, and it was everyone
At
loved it. So I
D23
think that
too.
would be
We saw the D23
great
as well.
twist on.
Yeah.
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 The only problem with this, we're currently in the year 2025 as we're discussing this, and Deadpool is primarily an X-Men character, which makes it where he is not allowed at Walt Disney World.
Great.
Well,
So then
he
he
could be at
goes
the Hyperion
into
Theater.
that's right.
Exactly. That's why they had
That's
like whatever. They had story time with Deadpool, I think, over at California
yeah,
Adventure as a little thing. I
That
think
was
if they did a
awesome.
bigger show with Deadpool, it would be a big success.
absolutely.
Absolutely. I think so. For sure.
The world needs more Deadpool, and he definitely has a following, and they're continuing with that character, so it makes sense to have something like that. Um, so yeah, and then of course that would change every year, as does the hanging show at Knott's, and yeah, so I think it'd be awesome.
That'd be a good way to bring the pop culture back since we don't have the genie from Aladdin.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. All right. Anything else you guys have that we might have missed? Did we hit on all the
Those are all
highlights?
my blue sky ideas.
Yeah, we
That
have a lot
was
of them.
what I had. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, then we will close this out. If you have enjoyed this episode, and I hope you have, because we have, this episode's been awesome, then scroll down on your podcast player and give us a 5-star rating. And if you have an extra minute to leave a written review or share it out with another Armchair Imagineer, that would be amazing. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it just tells Apple, Spotify, and all the other players that we're doing something awesome, and it helps out the channel. And if you're listening or watching us on YouTube, hi. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to write in the comments your ideas that you have for a Halloween haunt or Halloween takeover at a Disney park. Also, check out our absolutely free Discord. We're having that conversation over there as well. Check out our amazing sponsors, our Patreon page. For all of those links, everything is in the show notes. And until next time, continue to place trust in the magic of imagination and remember the details within the parks surround us in our everyday lives. Imagine that. Bye for now.
Bye.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world.